Christmas is finally here, and though we haven't gotten any news on Bo Bichette or Kyle Tucker or any of the big free agents this offseason for the Blue Jays, it's been a couple of weeks now since we've got a midweek pod from Ross Atkins. Staying a little bit quiet over the holiday season, understandable, but let's take a look at some of the gifts potentially of the future for the Blue Jays. Some top prospects, or maybe even some unranked prospects, or the lower ranked prospects who could make an impact in 2026, making their way through the minor league system, potentially having an impact too on the Blue Jays in 2026. So, in this video, we're going to go through 3 pitchers and 3 hitters, breaking them down one by one to see who potentially could have that impact in 2026, beginning with some of the top-ranked pitching prospects, who again could make that impact at the major league level, and some of the higher ranked hitting prospects who either could make waves at AAA Buffalo or potentially break through with the Jays in 2026. So, beginning with the pitchers in the Blue Jays minor league system, Trey Yesavage is going to be the #1 pitching prospect and number one overall prospect for the Blue Jays in 2026. Though in this video, we're not going to consider him a prospect, as again, he accrued some major league experience last year, pitching all the way through to the World Series and had a great impact in the World Series. Though he has eligibility for the Rookie of the Year award in 2026, again, he already has that major league experience, so we're going to take a look at some of the top pitching prospects below him. The first of which being Mr. Ricky Tiedemann. Now, Ricky Tiedemann has been in the organization with the Blue Jays since 2022, and that was actually the season that he threw the most innings for the team. Split across single A and double A ball, he threw 78 and 2/3 innings. And the problem with Ricky T all along since he joined the Blue Jays system has been his health. He just hasn't stayed healthy. Looking at his 2025, he didn't pitch at all in the Blue Jays system, actually underwent Tommy John surgery and will be recovering from that and looking to bounce back in spring training with potentially the option to compete for a spot either in spring training or get that elbow healthy again, and potentially be a mid-season acquisition type for the Blue Jays come July or August when they need a hard-throwing lefty out of the bullpen potentially, or down the road could even be a starter. Again, the problem with Ricky T has always been his health. Looking back to his 2024 season, he only threw 17 and a third innings, and only 9 of those came at the AAA level. So he's very minimal minor league experience, but the talent is there. He's the #1 pitching prospect aside from Trey Yesavage in the Blue Jays organization, so look for him to make an impact in 2026. Now, taking a look at the second pitching prospect for this video, we're going to take a look at Gage Stanifer. Now, Gage is a guy who probably won't get any major league experience next year. He's probably a year away, only 21 years old as of last year, so he's had a couple years in the Blue Jays system since he was 19 years old back in 2023. He's most likely a year away, and you'll probably see him in 2027 or maybe 2028. He got up to Double-A New Hampshire last year, threw 8 innings for the club, so most likely will start at Double-A next season, but threw 76 innings last year with High A in Vancouver. He threw to a 3.20 ERA with 115 strikeouts. So the potential is really there for Gage Stanifer, one of the higher ranked prospects in the Blue Jays system. Again, most likely not going to make a major league impact next year, but he's a hard-throwing righty, rising through the ranks pretty quickly. Again, only 21 years old, most likely going to start with Double-A New Hampshire next year. Should he impress, could reach Buffalo by next season, and then maybe you would see him with the Blue Jays in 2027. So keep an eye out for Gage Stanifer going forward. Now, the last pitching prospect we're going to look at today is a lower ranked prospect in the organization, not in the top 30 list for the Blue Jays, but nonetheless, we're going to look at TJ Brock. Now, this is a guy similarly to Ricky Tiedemann, who came over to the organization in 2022, and the consistent struggle with him has been the health. We didn't see him pitch in 2025, and the last we saw of him in 2024, he threw only 11 and a third innings across 3 levels. Now, in those 11 and a third innings, he posted a .79 ERA with 20 strikeouts. So similarly to a guy in Gage Stanifer, who's another hard-throwing righty, the tools are there for TJ Brock. We just haven't seen the consistent health. Now, this is a guy that's going to be 26 going into next season. So if he can prove that he can stay healthy coming back from an arm injury, make some waves through Double-A and potentially Triple-A in 2026, you could see him at the end of the season or potentially going into 2027. So keep an eye out for TJ Brock as well. Shifting over to hitting prospects, looking at one of the top outfield prospects for the Jays, it's Yohendrick Pinango. Now, Pinango's a guy that came over in 2024, coming over from the Cubs organization, and since shifting over to the Jays, has displayed some good hitting tools. Looking at his 2025 season split across Double-A New Hampshire and Triple-A Buffalo, he hit 15 home runs in 131 games with a 790 OPS. Now, he was better in Double A, posted a 928 OPS with 8 of those home runs, but still had some success in Triple A, posting 47 RBIs in 84 games. The interesting with him this offseason is he's played 22 games thus far in the Winter League for Venezuela and has posted a 353 batting average with an 1118 OPS and 7 home runs. So the power tools are there for Pinango, and this is a guy that's going to be 24 going into next season. The outfield's a bit crowded for the Blue Jays, so we'll see if he has the chance to make an impact in 2026, or he could potentially be a depth piece going forward in future years. Shifting to the second hitting prospect of the video, it's RJ Schreck. Now, Schreck, similarly to Pinango, is one of the higher ranked outfield prospects for the Jays, and he made some waves last year through the minor league system, coming over from Seattle in 2024. Again, he's an outfield prospect that has displayed some decent power tools, playing across 4 different minor league levels last season, and actually played some of his best ball in Double A and Triple A. Last year in Double A, posting a 266 batting average in 41 games with a 914 OPS and 9 home runs. Looking at his AAA numbers as well, in 58 games, slightly larger sample size, similarly 9 home runs with 33 RBIs, a 242 batting average, and an 828 OPS. So he made some waves in 2025. He will be 25 years old going into 2026, and we talk about that outfield jam. Not sure if he's going to have the chance to have significant playing time in 2026, but look for him to be a depth piece going forward in that outfield into 2026 and beyond. Now, shifting to the last hitting prospect of the video, it's Arjun Nimmala. Now, Nimmala is a guy that for the first year and a half or so of his tenure in the Blue Jays organization, after he was picked in the 2023 draft as the top Blue Jays pick, he was seen as the top prospect before we saw Trey Yesavage and especially before we saw JoJo Parker come into the organization. Nimmala is a shortstop prospect, and with the idea that Bo Bichette could potentially be leaving, you could see that Arjun Nimmala was potentially the guy that would fill into that slot in the future. But he didn't have a great 2025 season. Looking at his 2025, played the entire season in Vancouver at high A ball, started off the season great, and then fell off a little bit in the second half of the season. Finished the season with 13 home runs, 61 RBIs, a 224 batting average, and a 694 OPS. So after performing great in the 2024 season across rookie ball and single A ball with Dunedin, he didn't have a great 2025, and that lowered his stock significantly in the top MLB prospects, and it brought him down in the Blue Jays prospect system as well. So again, you just brought JoJo Parker in, who's a top shortstop prospect as well. He's going to get his first taste of pro ball next season in 2026, and Nimmala is going to be 20 years old going into 2026. So he'll need to make some strides. If he doesn't make any strides going into 2026, either he's going to be a trade chip or he won't really see a significant future with the Blue Jays. So look to see what sort of progress Arjun Nimmala makes in 2026. That does it for this video. Stay safe over the holiday season, spend time with your loved ones, and we look forward to reconnecting soon. Bye.